Welcome to Fusion Fundamentals with me, MJ. Today we're going to be having a look at how to make this knife. I don't know what it's called. I just called it a ring knife because it's got this ring at the end. But you can see it's got a couple of nice shapes and some nice contours. It's a good looking knife. We're going to have a look at how to make this and the processes I used. There'll be one or two new things in this video that you maybe didn't know about how the timeline works and how you can use it to adjust your drawing if you've done something that you needed to do after the fact. So follow along and see how you go. So to get started with this one, I'm going to do something I do quite regularly, is insert an image as a canvas. So we go up to here, click insert and canvas. You can either insert an image from your computer, insert from my computer, or something you've already uploaded. Now these are various images I've uploaded in the past. We're going to be doing this bottom one, ring knife. So there it's busy loading the image. I'm going to select this top plane and I'm just going to drag it out a little bit. So it doesn't really matter how far we drag it out now because we're going to calibrate the image. So I'll click OK. Then I'm going to right click on the canvas here and click calibrate. Now with this you can select any 2 points. So I'm going to select that point and that point, and I can see that it's 8.7 centimeters, so that's 87 millimeters, and then it resizes everything to scale. And I want to have this drawing on the origin, so all I did there was turn on the origin. So now once it's scaled, what I want to do is I want to move the image. So I'm going to edit it. So you right click there, edit, and I want to drag it to a point. So I'm going to be using this top one to do my tracing. I want to drag it to a point where we're on the origin and I can have a point of that knife on the origin. So okay, I'm happy with that. So now what we do is we just get started with the tracing. I'll start by creating a sketch on the top plane, and I will just take a spline at this origin point and I'll make a few marks, a few points over here. If you can't quite get it on the line and it's jumping past, just zoom in a little bit. That'll kind of help you. And you don't want to put too many points in because you want it to be quite a smooth curve. So just zoom in, get it close to the point as I can, and there it's traveling nicely along that curve. We'll do the same around here on the origin. Select several points. Now there's no sharp curves here, so I can just carry this along all the way through. If there was for instance, a complete like a 90-degree or a sharp angle, this wouldn't really work. You'll see there that one, this one over here isn't quite in the right place, but we can adjust that once we're done. So I'm going to stop this line here. I'm going to do a circle for those two. So escape the spline tool. I'm going to grab this point and just move it up so we get a nice curve over there. I'm going to take the circle, so I just clicked on circle, center diameter circle, and drag it out roughly to that point. So you can see I'm not quite in the center, so I'll just escape this, put my mouse pointer on that and relocate it so it lines up a bit more accurately. Okay, so now that I've got that center point, I can do this next circle. I can see it's pretty rounded up to that point. So I'll drag it out to there. And we've got that line. So I want this to intersect here. So I'll just take the spline tool and join it on there. exit spline tool. You can either double click or right click and say exit, and I want that to be tangent, so I'll click here, tangent, click on that line, that circle, and then it just bends it a little bit, makes it tangent to it. Now I'm going to start another spline over here, roughly where I think it starts tapering away from the circle. Again, you don't need to make the points too close together. It'll give you a more rounded or more even look. So here's what I was talking about earlier, where I'm going to exit the spline tool and start a second one, or else I'll get a gradual curve there instead of the sharp point that I want. So I can just double click and exit that. But I've noticed here that that line has gone a bit out, so I'm going to exit spline tool, click on this line, and then use this to just lengthen it a little bit, bend it, and I can see I'm going to need to just shift this up and this one down. It's a little bit closer to the outline. So now we want to get rid of this line. But first let me just make this tangent here. So I'll click on tangent, click on my circle, click on that line. Now it's tangent. So I can press T for trim, or you can select trim up top there, that picture of the scissors, and I'll trim that. So we've almost got the outline of the knife now. Again, spline tool, or over here it'd actually be better if we use an arc. So I'll click arc, 3-point arc, so I can select that point there, and there where the point is, and just go down into the center of this curve, and we can see that's a nice little arc. We didn't have to use a spline tool there. Arc's a bit more accurate. You won't end up with an uneven line. And we can see this is just a straight line, so line tool from that point to that point. And that would be the outline of the knife blade. So that would be all the metal components. All we need to do after that would be to trace the handle. I'm just going to click finish sketch here. And I'm just going to turn the canvas off quickly. Now we're going to extrude. So I'm going to extrude this. This is currently on the top plane. I'm going to extrude it 2 millimeters in either direction. So it'll be 4 millimeters thick. So I'm just going to make that 2. And over here where it says one side, I will click symmetric. That means it'll be going 2 millimeters in either direction. So the reason for doing that is if I turn on the origin here, I can see the top plane splits down the middle of that line. So I can use that top plane as a mirror. You can see it better there. So I can use it as a mirror. So I'm going to draw this one side of the handle and then just mirror it across. I'm also going to make features on the blade and mirror that across. So let's carry on with that. So I'm going to do this top little curve here. This is called a swedge. So to make the swedge, I'm just going to put in a chamfer on there. So I can see, I'm going to guess that's probably about 10 millimeters, but we can correlate it once we've got this on. So chamfer that edge, and I'm going to say, instead of equal distance, 2 distances. The one distance I want to be 2 millimeters, because that'll take us to the center of the knife, and the other will be 10. So I can see that's way too far. So I completely misjudged that one. So there we go, 4. I'm happy with that. Once we do this curve up, it'll cut it across that line over there. So if I just turn the canvas off quickly, I can see there's the swedge. Okay, now let's turn the canvas on again so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to make a line on this top plane or actually I'm going to make a plane at this point here so that I can make a cutting tool that'll cut along this blade. But first I need a point to make it on. So I'm just going to go back into our first sketch. So I need to do another sketch. I'm going to make a straight line from that point to that point. Oh, but didn't save my... Oh, it did. So there's my line. Now, let me just turn this on. I'll create a plane, construct plane at angle. So I select this line, and I want it 90 degrees to that angle. So I can see, I'll be looking at it from this point. Let me just turn off this. So there's our new plane. Now I'm going to create a sketch on this plane. Let me just get it. I'm going to turn the plane on so I can see better where I'm working. So what we're going to do, we want it from that point, we're going to draw a diagonal line up for our cutting surface, but I want to go slice, so it's just making that that section of the knife disappear so I can see exactly where I'm going to be working. So now I'm going to draw our cutting tool. I'm going to start it at that point. We can see that's where the line runs. So I'm going to draw my line. Looks like that's about right. I'm just going to go back into this right view. We're going to draw it all the way to this edge. So our point will be completely sharp, but I'm just going to leave a tiny little bit. Now if we zoom out, we'll actually see how small that gap really is. So that's almost nothing. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that we're definitely cutting away all that material. So I'm going to draw this line down as well. And all around, oh, I didn't draw that line. And all around so that we have a clear indication of where it is we're drawing. I'll just go touch that point so I can draw a construction line for me. And there we go. Now this is what we'll use to draw our line. So finish sketch. So once we're at this point, I'm going to select the sweep operation. So create, sweep. I'm going to select this profile that we just drew, and the path is that path over there, and then we'll cut. Now the reason I did it this way is I want to show you the importance of getting your sequence correct. So what we did is we did the swedge first, and that what that did was subtract that portion of line, so we can't do our sweep. So what I'm actually going to do, Control Z, undo our sweep, and over here where we put in our chamfer, I'm actually going to drag this to the end over there, and that's after our sketch, and I can drag this line back. So now it's suppressed that because that's happening after in the timeline where we are now. So now if I do my sweep, I'll go select that same profile and the sweep path. We can see it runs all the way to the tip of the blade. So we've got that line coming right to the tip, so when we mirror it we'll have a sharp point. Now if I drag that line, I've got that same profile there, but it's a different image because of where in the timeline that occurs. Okay, so we've got our knife, but something I didn't point out, which I actually forgot, is that we've got that line there, and that is where our blade stops. So that forms the end of the knife, and this is part of the blade. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and double click on this. We've got our sweep there. I can actually take this arrow and move it back to the point where I want it to stop, and it snaps onto that line. Okay, so if I look at it from this angle, and turn off that plane, I can see we've got that little edge there. But here is construct, not an offset plane, plane at angle. I'll select that line, and I can see that is where I want to draw. What I'll do now is on this plane, let me just turn it off so I can see what I'm doing. I will create a sketch on that plane. So now that we're on this plane, I'm going to push P and select this point and that point. I'm actually going to just draw a center diameter circle from here to here. Finish sketch and turn it on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform a sweep operation along that. But just to be sure that it's going past there, I'm going to create a sketch. Doesn't really matter where you click. And once I've selected 3D sketch, you can actually draw pretty much anywhere on the drawing you want. So I'm going to go back to this point over there, use my line tool, just extend it out. And that's all I'm going to do. Finish sketch. I'll go to sweep, select this profile, and the path will be this diagonal line. Okay, and you can see it didn't cut quite right there. And I'll repeat that step, this profile, and the path will be this line this time. So now it's cleared out that area. If I turn off sketches, we can see we've got that nice curve. So that's actually quite a nice blade we've got there. So now we're going to do the handle. So I'll go back in here. I'll go to sketch, sketch on this top plane. So that's the top plane of the knife. So that's 2 millimeters off of the actual top plane. So I'm going to use, actually first I'm going to P, and in the middle over here you click, you can see all the outlines are red. That'll just make all those lines available to me in this process. Create arc, I want to go center point arc, and I will select that point, and up. I messed that one up. Cut. 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to create an arc. Create arc, 3-point arc, and I'm going to go over there. Snaps onto that line, and at this point here, and just curve that nicely to the end. Now what you'll find is because that line's projected all the way, those lines are already in there. So all I need to do is go to this point, get that straight line, double click to exit. I'll draw another straight line, snaps onto the projected line, double click, and then I can go to arc and 3-point arc. I will select these 2 points. If we drag this arc to that point, we actually got quite a nice little curve there. So that's the exact size we want. And I'm going to extrude this out. Extrude, so our handle body, and not quite sure how thick I want it. 5 looks a bit thick, so let's go 4, because this will be copied across the other side. So that's 4 millimeters thick on the blade, 4 on the knife, 4 on the handle. That gives us 12, and it's going to be a new body. So new body, let's just assign this. Okay, we can turn off the canvas now. I'm just going to assign colors here so we can kind of see what the different components are, or different bodies. They're not components yet. We'll go here, steel, and looking for a nice shiny one, stainless steel. polished. There we go. So I'll apply it to this body. Now we can see it's changed there, and I'm going to make this black, this handle. So we'd make it a plastic, and doesn't really matter what material we use, as long as we're getting the look we want. We're not going to actually manufacture this, so there we go, we've got a black handle. So there we've got the bodies that we want, with the handle, the one side, and the blade. So I'm going to do some fillets now, and at that point, I think, let's just do the one for now, because I want this one to be slightly bigger. So I think I'd be happy with a 5mm there. And then on this, we will go 3. I'll make that 3. And at the back side, again we'll go 5, I think. Let's try. Oh, that looks a bit big. We'll keep it 3. So while we're selecting the 3s, Control or Command, and we can select this line as well. I want to get this point there, so it's nice and rounded and even. And then we've got our handle and the blade. Now we've got a mirror. So I'm going to select here at Create, Mirror. I will select this body. Over there you can see body is selected. Mirror plane, we're going to select, okay, our constructed planes are off, so this is our top plane. If I go over here, I can see that's fitting nicely on the blade, nice and flush. Okay, so there it is, and we've got our 3 bodies. Our blade, our handle one side, handle the other side. So now we've got the handle, we're going to mirror the blade. So I'll go Create, Mirror, and Faces. I'll select this, all 3 of these, mirror plane as the top plane. Click OK. My turn around should be the same. There it is. So there's our knife, nice sharp edge, got that nice little feature near the back end just before the handle, and so there we've got our knife. Some nice profiles on the knife, the handle looks nice and comfortable. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, it just helps me to get the video out to more people. If you've got any suggestions or comments, please leave a comment, and I will see what I can do to make it happen. If you need any help with any of your work, please get in touch at fusionfundamentals@gmail.com. My email address is in the description. Till next time, cheers.